So talk us through one of the recent ones you've done, say up in Newcastle, and a couple of the things that you've learnt, a couple of things that went wrong, or a couple of things you've done right.
Yep, so I've got a bigger project up in Newcastle, and again, learnt lots of lessons from that one, things not to do, people I should have listened to more. For that one, because I'm here in Sydney, I opted to get a local project manager to assist me with that. So they came across and, "Oh, Richard, this is fantastic. We've got this great opportunity." And I've been looking in Sydney, up to Western Sydney, around the Penrith area, and hindsight's a great thing. Back when I was looking there, prices were in about 500,000 for a 5 townhouse block. Now they're about 1.1. That's just for the block. The finished townhouses have gone up from about 360 to 620. And in the meantime, I've been tied up for a number of years with this project. And some of the things that were an issue there, particularly on the council side of things, when council owns the infrastructure and the easements under your block, it's all well and good for, say, Underwater, Sydney Water or someone to say, "Yeah, here's our infrastructure," but there's lots of things that you can have to replace and improve on behalf of those councils and utility providers. So one example was, I was aware that I need to upgrade some sewer pipe, so I factored in about 20 to 30 grand for that, and that one ended up being closer to $50,000. So that was a bit of a hit.
So just with the deal itself, explain, probably for people to get a bit of a picture, explain the block of land, I suppose the contours of it, the size of it, and what you're going to do with that land. So you saw it was a raw piece, what was your vision for it?
Okay, it was 3 adjacent properties. So it was 2 full houses plus the backyard of the neighbour's property. He was did keep the existing house, and that would leave me with 2 existing dwellings that I could on sell, and it gave me about 2,000 square metres to the rear of those houses, where I could put a double driveway between those 2 houses and build 10 townhouses at the rear. The block itself is reasonably steep. It slopes down, then it has an overland flow type area at the back, and the plan was to put a small walkway across that, and then put another, of the 10 townhouses, put 6 of those behind that. So it would have a common car park area. Just as you come down the driveway, you'd have the car parking area. So there was a bit of slope on the block, so there was going to be some retaining walls. In the big scheme of things, it was a relatively complex build, and that's caused a number of my issues with regards to, particularly in the market over the last couple of years. It's been a hot market, so builders have been in demand. So when there's lots of nice flat blocks and they look at one that's got a bit of slope on it, they go, that one's a bit trickier, I can pick and choose my jobs, so I'm not going to bother quoting on that particular job. So that was probably my biggest issue, was lack of builders, or alternatively, if they were prepared to do it, they could put a premium on the block price. The particular suburb I have the property in has grown a little bit, but it's more of your affordable type suburb. So while Merriweather, Adamstown, Cooks Hill, all those sort of areas have gone up significantly, this particular area has gone up, but in sort of the single digits percentage-wise. So the development deals are still, they've been really stacking up in those middle to upper areas. The build prices have gone up lots, but then so have your sale prices, so that's kind of taken that. Whereas my particular deal, the margins have been eaten into by that rising build cost. The difficulties on the block, I had another difficulty where I needed to demolish a garage to the rear of one of the houses, because underneath that garage was where I could fit 3 townhouses. The guy that lived there worked for council in the 80s. He got some nice cheap free fill from somewhere. That was contaminated waste with asbestos, so I paid in the tens of thousands of dollars to dispose of that. I'm happy with the asbestos in the eaves or a bathroom or something. That would normally add a couple of $1,000s to your demolition, but this one was in the tons, so I got a nice bill for that one. Unfortunately, that was one email that I opened about 10 o'clock at night before I was about to go to bed, and I didn't sleep so well as I should have that night. But again, it was a variation. The builder was entitled to charge it. He had the receipts from the landfill, so I was not able to do that one. The one where I was upset with regards to, well, my project manager should have been present when all that was happening. They weren't, and there's been sort of some issues there with, I guess, people that should be actively managing things on your behalf. Again, similar to the agents, sort of make sure that they are. If someone says that yes, they know the area, they have the contacts for the builders. One of the lessons I learnt there, yeah, Richard, it's great. Yep, this build's fantastic. We've got the local relationships with the builders. The words that were said and the actual realities behind it were different. So again, I did, particularly on that build price, rang a number of builders, got some build prices for other jobs they were doing. I guess what I didn't pick up was some of the undertones on, yes, we could build it, but again, with the slope, no, we don't want to, we choose not to. They weren't words they said.
It's definitely been challenging, hasn't it? Because I remember when we sat down, we did the feasibility, and that the numbers were looking in the right direction, and the builder came through with this fantastic quote. I remember this very thorough, probably 30-40 page breakdown of the overall cost. You say, I trust it, because there's so much time and effort that this builder's probably put towards building this quote up for Richard. And then all of a sudden, when things start to get a move on 6 months, 8 months later, yeah, no, Richard, definitely that price we can do, but we're going to probably have to add about another 150 or 200 grand. And it kept going up. It kept going up. So even with the numbers being pretty much polished, our hands are in this builder, and the prices just kept going up and up. Every 6 months he was lifting his price another 100,000, and it turned our feasibility from where it looked all right into something that, oh, okay, our profit, our margin's really getting chewed up. So I think that's something you really need to look at as well, especially, Rich and I have had lots of discussions, and it's locking these guys in. It's keeping them to their word, and I suppose it's moving through it a lot quickly, so they just can't think about going on to the next job or the next deal.